I know that Jeffrey's not here, but I just really liked his approach in terms of he's practical and he's well read and he's established this forum and over 15 years of conversations of really developing his own understanding of what leadership is. So I really was appreciating his depth.
Yes.
And his combination of both East and West and his understanding of that. So yeah, no, that was really nice.
That is phenomenal, isn't it? Yeah, it is wonderful knowing that we've all got something to contribute in order to, create better, different, unexpected results, outcomes, solutions. And culture shouldn't stand in the way. It does, sadly, in many instances, but it doesn't need to. So this is just, again, it comes down to we're simply human beings.
Well, what it reinforced for me, and I'll just make this one more point, was just over my career where I've had a special interest group or a forum of people that I get together with on a regular basis and develop relationships with those people. Is for me an ingredient for depth, where you've got a constant exchange of perspectives. So that's what I liked about what he's done, and it just reminded me of the moments throughout my career where I've become deeper in a subject. It's generally can be connected back to a group of people where I'm working out aloud with them. So that was what I appreciated.
Yes,
I'd be interested to hear, Rebecca, Carol, anybody else that's got their mics on, what's been your career experience in terms of collective conversations to help you refine your own understandings about what's important, what's not, what you should do, how to do things better.
Sorry, in what space, Stephen?
We're talking about Jeffrey's conversation.
Oh, okay.
And especially his forum or his group about the professional development forum, which I think is really fantastic, coming together, spending all that period of time, like for him 15 years. And I've been in groups where even months can make a huge difference in how we perceive, how we see things.
So for me, the International Association Facilitators is my tribe since 2013. And it's really, that's where this concept of posters on the walls to conversations in the halls came out of a workshop in 2014, in which I was doing on values. And so it was, that's what I was meaning, that professional groups, professional networks really help you refine.
Yes, that's awesome. How about you, Alex? What's been your experience in terms of the effects of working together with the same group of people or being part of a similar tribe? How has it influenced you?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's not always positive influence, by the way, and I think it just depends on the culture as well. It's interesting how people get sucked in to the culture and have a fear of speaking up to be able to maybe change it and make it a better place to be. So what I've noticed, particularly recently over the last 12 months, having worked alongside a large organization, is that it doesn't matter what they believe, what their values are, what's important to them, they leave that at the door and they suddenly take on this culture that's not necessarily resourceful. So that's been my experience just recently, not having the flexibility nor the permission, as Stephen said earlier, to bring your individuality to work and expand on that and make it work for everybody.
Isn't that interesting, being able to be an individual and it's still being possible for everyone to work around that, within that, together with that, because everyone's an individual and they're going to bring their own personal ingredient into the mix.
Yeah, and having that horrible, this thing, this belief of that's how we do it here. Yeah, but it's not working. So, perhaps have a look and read and listen and observe and really observe people's not just your staff, but also your customers' responses, and all of that matters. And this, I don't know, this need for certainty and this fear of challenging the status quo from a leader's perspective. That's probably what's keeping them so small and the organization growing and becoming an incredible place to be.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Thank you, Alex. Carol, what's been your experience?
Hi, Carol. Welcome.
Hi, it's great to see you. Sorry, I have a nasty cough, so it's going to be a bit tricky. So
We'll manage. Keep that glass of water nearby.
Yeah, it's just here. This is why I just took myself off on camera, because I wanted to just have a quick sip. So so mainly it's a very interesting topic, and I would have loved to be actually part of the conversation since this morning to hear more about what you guys have been sharing. In my experience, really, the companies I have worked with, whether it was as being part of the team or as an external consultant, I can see a lot of what Alex shared in terms of not being courageous enough to challenge the status quo, and being so attached to certainty. And exactly what you shared, this is how we've been doing it, and it's like, yeah, it's not working. And then believe it or not, sometimes, although I had signed up a contract and an agreement and we were about to start, there would be some clashes going on between the CEO and the HR. Let's say the CEO is on board and then we're going for it, and then all of a sudden the HR department gets scared and starts to really, taking 10 steps back and like, perhaps we should wait for what? And then you realize that's actually the HR team who's actually holding off the actual growth of the team. So for example, sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes everything's going well with the HR team, and then the CEO comes in like further down the track in the conversation, like, let's push this, like later, maybe we should revisit this later. And it's very funny how the dynamic starts to happen. And really the places where things have actually worked and we actually got great outcomes is when they were both aligned. Totally. So and it's interesting how sometimes they're not, and what type of dynamic it brings to the conversation.
Yes. I love that. That's so true.
Yes. It's like, you could have the recipe for a cake or 2 different cakes, and if you mix the wrong ingredients into the cake, it's just not going to work. And I would say that values is very much like that. Our culture is very much like that, and we've got to be the right mix, and then it'll actually work for us, which is really fantastic.
And it brings us back to, I love what you said there, Carol, and Yaja too, but it brings us back to what Jeffrey says. We've got to just maybe try a different way. And I know that, HR departments are so stuck with their own, and I'm generalizing again, so without, I guess the
by and large
misunderstood, and I'm cool with that. But here's the thing, it's okay to try something different. It's not going to make it worse. Quite the opposite. It's going to help us get the results we want, perhaps even quicker.
Yes.
So having that beautiful mentality of what Jeffrey brought, and I'm so going to use that moving forward. And I love that he shared that with us, because I think it's really key. To do something different and do what others are doing in other countries. And I know, Carol, you've been, and I'm going to, go further into this later. I don't want to ruin it for everybody because it's such a exciting time. But you've worked overseas and as a female too. And gosh, you've experienced some incredible stuff. You and I have spoken off camera.
Yeah.
And that is important too, some of the different ways people lead. So I think you can bring some great insights and experiences to the table later in a minute when we start.
I'm really looking forward to that session, definitely. So Rebecca, it's wonderful that you're here, of course. And I'd love to know, in your experience with your work, how have you integrated people's differences with finding solutions, doing things differently?
A lot of the work I'm doing at the moment, especially with leaders, is actually utilising the eDisc profiling stuff. So working in and looking at different styles of communicating, different styles of thinking, different styles of behaving, and then working with leaders to get them thinking a little differently as to how they might work.
Yeah, cool. And that applies
those character types and with those styles.
Yeah.
And and how they may channel some of the other character types to develop strength in their business.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
In terms of the strategy of the business as well. So
Yeah.
not just even the communication within the teams, but you know, the good thing about that sort of work is you can look at the strategy as well, and how you might think differently and approach it differently. So yeah.
Yes. And that's fascinating. And thank you for sharing that, Rebecca, because regardless of nationality, culture, language, color, creed, religion, whatever, those, like this particular personality profiling tool that you've got, or behavioral profiling tool, is pertinent to any human being, regardless of where they're located, their age, their gender, their, you know, whatever it might be that we label people. And anyone can change, anyone can make a difference. And
I think what you're saying there is extremely important currently, because what we're seeing now is the fact that teams, you can, if people embrace this the way I'm seeing that they are starting to, you can hire people from anywhere in the world to be part of your team, and you can engage them and bring them in, and you can leverage resources that we would never have thought of leveraging in the past.
Absolute, good point.
How do you do that and integrate the different cultures and the different communication styles and so forth that come with that. And it's just such an exciting opportunity to bring in so much knowledge and just different perspectives. And I think it's phenomenal. It's phenomenally exciting moving forward.
And that's what our first session was very much about, different perspectives as well.
All right.
It's been a fantastic conversation, guys. Thank you so much for joining in and being here. And I'm sure we added tons of value, and we experienced the value as well.